Was there anything in that, like in the way that you constructed that feedback program? Were there specific design choices that were particularly impactful? Like, were there tools that were in use that were really effective? Were there, I don't know, strategies, et cetera, that stand out to you?
You mean apart from a spreadsheet?
Yes.
Spreadsheets are awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no hate
so
on
it's really
spreadsheets
like
here.
I still think about like Engine Yards. Engine Yards kind of forever my example of a company that should have made it, a company that like had just all the things, right? Incredible like love in the community, just understood developer marketing. Was pretty early, right? We launched before Heroku, but the problem that we had was, oh, we can close New Relic for $100,000 a month. They're asking for this specific feature, so engineering would spend four months on building that feature for that one customer. GitHub, right, is wanting to move off. By the way, Engineer had like all the largest Ruby on Rails sites hosted on us: Bleacher Report, Groupon, GitHub, New Relic. Like, it was wild. And so the problem by the end, right, is just we had this product that had all these features, right, that wasn't opinionated, to be able to close these like one-off customers, right? Versus Heroku it was all about Git deploy, right? They were very kind of opinionated on like, this is how developers are going to deploy applications. And that doesn't mean that they didn't listen, right? And make sure kind of that the platform still fit their needs and stuff, but they at least had a very strong opinion of like, this is the way it should be done. And so I think when I think about user feedback program, I wouldn't like, okay, there's just like a new junior dev learning how to code, and then they say something, then that's like you start to notice patterns, right? So you start to identify who are those kind of key users, right? If you and key like personas, and then if okay, you're like 5 to 6 people have repeated a similar thing, then you start to notice the trends. So that's kind of what like Jira, Asana, right? There's the other tools out there that you can kind of capture, right? And capture feedback and organize. And you're like, okay, hey, we heard 10 people had this kind of ask and request. That's maybe something we should explore.
Were you doing anything in particular to encourage that feedback? Or were you just getting a lot of it anyway?
Yeah, I mean that's the whole like beauty of building community, and the like one of the reasons you build community is to open up those channels for valuable feedback. And so right, so it's doing things like appreciating them, showcasing them, sending like I remember, I mean even now I have to bring it back, but I do these like Cafe Yana video series. And so I send everyone like a little like thank you note. Like I send everyone like a little like thank you note, just handwritten thank you note after. So like a little like early. I think what's really nice in the early days, and I think you don't have to think about scale yet. So a lot of the things you do can still be very personal and one off, and like a handwritten note and a hand curated like little gift box, or a free ticket to a conference. Like we did I launched these, it was our core contributor gifts. And so they were these like curated boxes where we did like, because let's say we had like 15 contributors to Terraform. So there were only 15 of those t-shirts ever designed. Like I put in there like a little, like they were called golden tickets. It was like the Willy Wonka golden ticket, where it was free tickets to our user conference, and a handwritten note by Mitchell and Armand, and a few other little things in there that people like really appreciated. And then we would spot those t-shirts out in the wild, and then people would be like, well, how do I get those? It's like, well, it's by contributing. And then other people were like, well, now I want like the console one or the Nomad one, right? So it kind of created this like little fun game. So it's little things like that. Early access to things. Because again, right, I think at the end of the day, this isn't easy, right? And people really appreciate learning from each other and feeling like they're connected to something.
Nice.
Yeah, those connections are super important. A lot of what people overlook is the relationship factor, and building the relationships with not only your user base, but other people in the community, other companies. There's a lot of goodwill that you can do in there. But what's really
and the
difficult,
industry is small, right? The industry is small, so it's also like Matt, like you and I met, right? We were put on a panel together and connected and stayed friends, right? I didn't think I would get something from you, right? But it's like, but hey, this is a cool person. I'd love to stay in touch, and I think that's always how I've kind of approached the career is just like be good to people, connect people, be helpful, right? The industry is smaller than you realize. And so like even when you like at HashiCorp, right? It's like we never treated our community as leads, right? We never were like, okay, like we tried to never be transactional. Like I still think about that first HashiConf we did. We had about 350 people there. And if we would have just been like, okay, leads and what's the ROI out of that? And it's like, okay, net loss, we spent about $85,000 and we didn't actually, so it's like that, if we would have just 4 months later looked at, we would have said that was like a not good return on our investment. But those 350 people, because we just treated them as friends and only emailed them when it was like, hey, here's a great update, or here's some great like resources. 7 years later, I cannot tell you what happened with those 350 people. They became our top users, top customers, right? Capital One was one of the first people to talk on stage of how they were using Vault in production. 4 years later, it was a $15 million a year deal. Those folks became employees, ambassadors. So it's just like, if you treat people well and realize that we're all humans and like with empathy, it goes a long way.